Vinnie Goodwill from ESPN, my former colleague over at Yahoo, joins us now without Amin. And this is, I feel like there might be something here. Is there something here? Is there a reason why you and him are not here together? Like, did something happen in Vegas?
He's still alive.
Are we sure?
Are we? I'm sure. He was supposed to join us today, and then suddenly he fell off and he ducked out. I'm just wondering, like, things happen in Vegas and they stay in Vegas, so I don't know if your lips were sealed on something that happened
No. If something happened, I am not aware of it. So I'm very happy to be here with you guys.
Yeah. Well, we so much happened at the NBA Cup final that I didn't catch watching it, and then all of the Josh Hart stuck his thumb up.
You want to start with this, Tom?
No, I don't know where I want to start, but that was one of the things that popped in my head was every time we want to talk about the game, something weird happens, and then we got to like discuss that. So it's just, I don't know. And then New York doesn't want to put up the banner, and I'm just like, man, these games are great, and yet here we are talking about this stuff. So I'm doing the thing, Vinny, that we're not supposed to be doing, which is.
Are you surprised that Jim Dolan is thumbing his nose at the league?
Have
you not seen his movies? That would be a conspiracy if he did put up the banner, to be perfectly honest with you. So, no, I'm not surprised at all that the Knicks aren't doing that, even though Mike Brown was saying we're going to put up a banner at MSG. I think they better be putting up a different banner come May, or at least come next October. They better put up some type of banner. Maybe not the big banner, but maybe the second biggest banner. I think that had better be on the docket.
If they put up, let's say, an Eastern Conference Championship banner, will they put up the NBA Cup banner as well?
Oof,
or are we going to forget about it?
No, they have an Atlantic Division banners up there, but they won't put up an NBA Cup banner.
Well, I think what happens is we're not yet at the point in our sort of, NBA, fandom, follow them, whatever it is, that the NBA Cup has become like a yearly part of what we think. Like, we still think of the regular season as the regular season. It's still new. Like, it takes about 10, 15 years maybe before we get used to seeing a world where there is no NBA Cup. I will say that the play-in tournament has become easily one of those things that you think about now. You're thinking about, you got to get to the top 6. And instead of the 7, 8, 9, 10 thing, like that has become a strategic part of how we evaluate an NBA season. And that caught on relatively easy. So maybe the Cup will, but the play-in is attached to the playoffs. So this is kind of a standalone thing. I think if the Cup were something that says, you're guaranteed home court in the playoffs if you win it. Like, if it were that level of incentive to it, then I think maybe we would take it a little more seriously. Maybe the teams would take it a little more seriously in terms of what the winning the Cup symbolizes.
Yeah, it's weird because I actually love the Cup. I love the idea of the Cup to gin up some sort of interest into the calendar at this point in the season. It's good. I think it's good. The issue is, I think the NBA's had a tough time selling it to people, in either whether it's media or James Dolan or Giannis Antetokounmpo last year, who refused to celebrate because they had bigger goals to win a championship and almost diminished and belittled the NBA Cup prestige in the same way that James Dolan's just like, yeah, we're not going to put up a banner for this. I'm sorry, Adam. You and I don't see eye to eye on this either. But you were there. So tell us, what was your experience at Vegas at this particular NBA Cup with the Knicks fans there? I saw that the Spurs flew out some people, fans out to the arena. What was your experience for the NBA Cup final? You were there for the whole, for the semis as well?
Yeah, from Thursday to yesterday. And if you are not a Vegas person, then 48 hours in Vegas is like Dennis Rodman. 48 hours in Vegas, that's just as much time as I need there. I will say, when you first get there, or when the games began on Saturday afternoon, that arena did not look full at all. It was the Orlando Knicks game. And when the first game started at like 2:30 Vegas time, it felt like a bad summer league game. type of feel to it. And then by the third quarter, you look around, you're like, oh, this thing is kind of filled up a little bit more. And then the Oklahoma City San Antonio game felt full and big from the start. Like that, full stop. That felt like a bigger game with bigger stakes and everything else. And I think so much of that has to do with San Antonio being back on the NBA stage after years of being away from it, and you're being introduced not just to Victor Wembanyama, who we all know, but so many of these other players and pieces that we haven't paid much attention to because we haven't had to pay attention to it. So by the time Tuesday came along, it's like, oh, this thing is big. You mentioned the Spurs having like a section of their fans. It felt like, look, Tom, you live in a college town. You know what it's like when the Cameron Crazies, or I don't know if Wake Forest has the equivalent of something like that, the student section, in Michigan State, it's called the I-Zone, like with the chants and all the different things. Like for people who maybe don't remember the Brooklyn Nets when they had a modicum of relevancy, like they have a fan section that would just chant a bunch of different things for the entire game. And you thought with that, oh man, this is like something big. And then you turn around and the Knicks go on a run, and then you hear the fans of the Knicks like really show up. So I say all that to say the game itself felt bigger than your average regular season game in December. And if that's what the NBA wanted, the NBA actually achieved its goal. And I don't think they need to be in a rush to move to other places. You got to let this simmer and build for a minute, I think.
So why are they thinking about moving it?
I wonder if it's just a leverage play, to be perfectly honest, because selling one, you got to get the media to be excited about it. You got to get fans to be excited about it. If you're going to some of the hallowed sort of college grounds or whatever it is, I don't think the media is going to be excited about spending a weekend at the Residence Inn in Durham. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to get someone like me to be happy. Oh yeah, let's go to Cameron Indoor Stadium where they've done some questionable things there over the years. You know what I'm saying? Like those fans aren't exactly.
Also, the weird thing about Cameron Indoor, Vinny, is that the Cameron Crazies make Cameron Indoor. It is a small gym, yes, and the hoops fall from the ceiling in ways that might be disorienting for NBA players. Not to say that they haven't played in really weird gyms around the country, but it's if you're trying to recreate the vibe of the Cameron Crazies, what are you going to hire a bunch of college kids to be fans of the Knicks for one weekend and then half the fans of the Spurs? It's weird. It seems like a very appropriation of the Duke experience for the NBA that doesn't feel like it's going to be at all authentic if they try to do that.
Don't forget where Adam Silver went to school.
Yeah.
Don't forget who's also one of Adam Silver's biggest advisors, Mike Krzyzewski. You know what I mean? Like it's very easy to draw the line there. And the NBA, to their credit and also to their detriment, guys, they're very quick to pivot if they think something isn't working. Right. And sometimes you got to let it, like for me, I understand the criticism of the NBA Cup because basically you're telling fans is the regular season on a night to night basis is not good enough for you. And I don't think that's the message that you should be selling to your fans, because if this is bigger, inherently everything else is smaller. So what else do you have to sell from December 16th to April 16th? You don't want to devalue your 6-month regular season marathon. I believe the story building of the regular season is a story in itself that the NBA doesn't have to devalue by saying, man, we need to make this thing right here bigger. But also because they listen to Twitter, you know what I mean? Because Adam Silver hears about the extender and Scott Foster and everything else. And he was actually asked about that in his press conference yesterday. I believe Tanya Gangwili asked him that. And he kind of flinched. Yeah. He kind of flinched, like his facial expression. I'm sure the camera was on Tanya's face, but my camera was on Adam Silver. And he looked like Judge Doom in that moment. You know what I mean? Like, remember Judge Doom from Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Like, that's what he kind of, his face kind of scrunched up, and he was not happy with the insinuation. But we know where that line of thinking comes from. We know that the NBA has its ear to the ground in a way that no other professional sport here in the States actually pays attention to, because they have their own stakes in the ground and they understand who they are. The NBA sometimes feels like they don't believe in their own product.
Yeah, and that seems like a bad thing, because tinkering too much, take the All-Star game, for example, has not worked out. They keep changing it before we even really know the result. So that's why it's a little surprising to hear that they're thinking of taking what felt like, from the outside, a very successful, definitely the most successful NBA Cup, and throwing in, well, we might not be back here in Vegas next year. We might take this on the road to different college campuses. They already have in place that the number 1 seed will host the semifinals, so it would only be the final, or the quarterfinals, so only the final would be at a final site.
They can't go to Dubai or they can't fly across the world for one game. So I think we can throw that out, right? Right, Vinny? Or am I misreading that?
Well, think about it like this. My only issue with the cup, and not to give not that the Knicks need any advocacy here, but the Knicks go right from playing in this high stakes game on Tuesday to Thursday being on the front end of the back-to-back against the Pacers, then Friday playing at home against Philadelphia. Like, where's the incentive necessarily for them to do this when you got to go right back into the rigors and then right back into a road home back-to-back? Like, that's the worst type
and they don't get the win.
And you don't even get the win. You get the money, and clearly you're incentivized, for the money. And it's a weird thing, guys, right? Like, I tend to believe, I don't have a problem with, if you're a home team and you want to play that game on your home floor, whatever it is, cool, because you can't stretch the schedule out anymore to give yourself even more of a break before going into Vegas, because you want fans of that home team to be able to plan to fly into Vegas and to spend potentially 4 days and 2 ticket seats and everything that goes into Las Vegas as a tourist attraction. You have to invest a lot of money there, even if it's going to be just for 3 or 4 days. So I understand that you don't want to stretch it out even longer just to give your fans a chance, but stretching out even longer gives your teams less of an opportunity on the back end to get a reasonable amount of rest before they go right back to the regular NBA schedule. You're trying to, lack of a better phrase, serve a bunch of masters that aren't really running parallel with each other.
Let me ask you this, because I've been at Adam Silver's press conference with ESPN, where we're kind of like, all right, if you get the mic, make sure you ask this question, because we're all trying to jockey for the mic and want to get it in there. If there's only 5 questions, you never know if you're going to get your question answered. So how did you land on your question, which I should have texted you, like, dude, awesome question. I wanted that to be one of the questions that he got, is the topic of injuries and Achilles tears and calf strains and soft tissue injuries. How did you land on that one? And did you expect it to be like as quickly off the top as you were? And were you like, oh, should I ask about aspiration or something else? Like, what was your thinking?
Well, pull behind the curtain. When you mess with the league about, hey, none of the black people here ask questions, then you wind up being, hey, guess what? Guess what, black guy? We're coming to you.
Cut the line.
So you kind of have in your head, like, honestly, for me, it was between like 3 things that I wanted to ask Adam Silver about, because you only get so many opportunities to get in front of the commissioner and an on the record spot. Like, you get them sometimes off the record and you can chat with them and everything else. Like, there were 3 things top of mind for me. One was the soft tissue injuries and the games that it was cost and everything else. The second thing, honestly, for me was, which is tied to this, the pace of play being so fast that I think it just throws the game out of whack and out of balance. Not necessarily from the standpoint of like numbers and scoring 140 points a night and everything else, but just it feels like defenses don't have a chance anymore. And when you look at the greatest offensive efficiencies in NBA history, they're all in the past 2 or 3 years. Yeah. That just feels like the game is out of balance. And then the third thing was, I don't know where you guys sit on this, it was a perfectly illustrated in one of the games where the Spurs Thunder game, where you go up 3 and it's the last 30 seconds, nobody gets a chance to tie. Like, what are we doing here? You can have 47 glorious minutes of a game, and then the last 30 seconds turns into this ugly, ugly slog
Foul
of
free throw fest.
strategy and fouling and everything else. Like, I thought about that, and then I just landed on the soft tissue stuff just because it affects more stars. It gets to grassroots of the NBA, grassroots of professional sports, more of a broader picture. And I felt like because there was a myriad of different directions that Adam could have went, you know, I mean, he could have talked about shortening the season, which I don't agree with. He could have talked about a bunch of different things. I wanted to give him the space to answer that question in that manner.
Yeah, he didn't bring up the shortening of the season. I don't
Thank
think.
the good Lord. I know you want to shorten the season. I know you are an advocate. I don't. And can I tell you why?
Yeah.
Because it's not going to stop these guys from playing basketball in the in-between time. Like, it's like these guys are still going to play basketball in the offseason. Basketball never stops. You see it on T-shirts and everything else. And one thing that I've gotten from multiple team doctors, which I found really fascinating, they say that players only play high-impact basketball now in basketball games. So their bodies are not used to the stress that comes on your bodies. Before, you could play and then practice the next day and your body's kind of gets calloused and used to it and everything else and maybe a little bit preventative. But now if you're only pushing yourself during these 48 minutes because you got to stay off your feet, because you're not going to practice and everything else, then your body may not be used to such things. And maybe that adds to some of the soft tissue injuries or the ankle sprains or whatever it is. I don't know the answer, but I'm not sure if shortening the game, shortening the season becomes an answer, because then what happens if injuries continue? Then you got to shorten it again. I can't see that being an exact answer for where things are going to land.
Yeah, I feel like if we do the pizza pie and we kind of figure out what is the factors to blame all the injuries happening, I think you could, like you said in your question, astutely mention that the grassroots and how many miles and the specialization coming into the league, they're already kind of behind the eight ball in that sense.
Yep.
I think there's that. I think the pace of the league and how fast and the geometry of the game is a pretty big slice of the pie.
They got to cover a lot of space, a lot more space now. So much space you can't leave a space on the floor unoccupied anymore.
Man, Brandon Payne, I don't think it was in the article, but Brandon Payne, Steph Curry's trainer, mentioned something to me that really stuck in my head, guys, is like, it's not the 3-point shot, just about the 3-point shot. It's also by stretching these 3-pointers, the runway is longer for drives. So you're going full speed faster down the paint, and then you got to stop. Like you think about Giannis, and you think about Shea, you think about Luka, and they all have to come and slam on these brakes. If you're going from foul line to the hoop, you're not able to go as fast. But now they're going half court. They got a high going downhill from half court, and you're like, oh yeah, I never really considered that. That like the geometry of the game when you're stretching out the 3-point line, and these actions are happening near half court now. You are building up more speed, which actually adds to more force on your joints when you got to stop at the rim. And it just feels like there's more force and intensity on those movements, partially because the 3-point shot is so prevalent, but also because downhill drives now, it's just so much power going into those.
Well, I will say this, because I've been a proponent of bringing back the hand check. For that very reason, because you don't get a chance to generate as much momentum going downhill as you did before. And if you allow more physicality in the paint, it's more sudden contact as opposed to wind up. When there's wind up, it's like a car accident, right? And if you break, the people who brace themselves get hurt in a car accident. If you see a car accident coming, you naturally break. Like it's been to me. Like I saw, oh shit, a car's coming. I braced myself, and the drunk driver or the person who stole the car, well, it was a drunk driver, it was a stolen person. He didn't feel anything because he didn't see me. You know what I mean? Like when you get a chance to,
it is a weird thing, right? Yeah. In car accidents, if you are tense up and you grip the wheel or turn it or whatever it is, you're going to be more prone to more serious injuries than someone who just gets blindsided.
So compare that to when you're coming downhill and you're going to take contact. Yeah, that car is going 70 miles an hour compared to if you got that hand check on your hip, you don't get a chance to go as fast as quick. You have to be more quick than you have to be fast. And I think that in some degree, is more aesthetically pleasing because you're playing defense on all Madden as opposed to all rookie like we are playing. And like you said, it lessens the heaviness of the impact because you're just dealing with impact all up and down the floor.
Vinny wants more points or more games, hand checking. He wants to beat these people up so that they get callous, they get tough. Yeah. And then they won't get injured.
He doesn't want more points. He wants more defense and physicality. That's what he wants.
I want the points to matter.
Yeah.
I want if you score 30, I want to know, like I had a talk with a player once who's considered an ethical player. I will just say that. And he said, would you rather have 50 or an ethical 30? And I said, honestly, I would want you to have an ethical 30 because not everybody can get it. But if you're getting 50 when everybody else is getting 40, how do I know that this is special?
So Victor said that to you?
Victor did not say that. It was not someone as tall. It was not someone as tall, but it was an ethical player.
Yeah. I think it's a fascinating thing, especially coming from baseball and sabermetrics and all this stuff where it's like the nerds win when the spray charts and everything strike out home runs and walks, and you're like, yeah, we won. And then no one's watching the game anymore. And it's like, did you really win if no one cares about your sport anymore? And so they needed to put in the shifts
and everything. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, I remember someone was telling me like how they hated, I think it was Mike Schur. He hates the shift. No. Mike Schur was arguing that it was one or the other. This is probably bad that I don't know which side of the argument he was on, but the side of the argument that convinced me was if the nerds win and they're positioning the players to where the ball is more likely going to be hit rather than in the traditional locations on the field, there's never going to be any action in the game because they're just going to be right in front of the ball and then they catch it and throw the guy out. What we want is plays, like actual baseball happening. And so in the same way with the NBA, it's like I feel like a lot of times the defense doesn't have a chance.
Yeah. And what are you watching it for? Like that's when it gets down to the core of basketball, whether if you're a fan, like at the core of this, before I became a journalist, I was a basketball player, a basketball fan. Are you watching this to see who can out-strategize the other, who can take advantage of the rules? Are you watching this for the pure competition? And pure competition looks completely different than trying to outgame the game. You know what I mean? Like if you're playing Monopoly and you want to be in it, then there's a certain amount of strategy that you're using. But if you're playing against somebody that's not trying to play it for like necessarily the enjoyment, but they're just trying to play it for the strategy of it, it don't feel as fun. Even if you win, it doesn't feel as fun because it doesn't feel pure. Like some of the best basketball games, pickup or not, that I've ever played in was not the games where everybody was hitting shots. It was the game where you just felt like, man, we got to earn it. And sometimes those games don't necessarily look aesthetically pleasing. Like I know that we hate on that Lakers Celtics game 7 from 2010. Like now because it was 80, 89, 83 or whatever it was, which is now a score at halftime of NBA games. But
every possession mattered. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
It felt there was real stakes to every time they got the ball. Yeah.
And if we're saying you want every game to matter, but you don't want any possession, you don't want every possession to matter because a 10-point lead means nothing now, right? You go up 10, that's 2 possessions and you're right. That's Jordan Clarkson going on a quick heater. You know what I mean? Like I want it to matter. Maybe I'll make basketball great again. Do I need like a red hat or something like that?
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe I shouldn't.
We can get that done for you, Vinny.
Yeah, we can get that.
I don't want to co-opt that phrase and it turn into something that is
You're
not
gonna be the face
to.
of the Magba? I don't know. Vinny, what about Elam ending? Because I got to be honest, I watched TBT in the summertime and I am hype every time there's a target score. And for all the people out here who are like, it's not intuitive, it's kind of this gimmick thing. And I'm like, is pickup a gimmick? Because if you play pickup, every game is to a target score. And if you've been to a pickup game and you're down 3 or down 2 you're playing a lot closer defense when you know there's a game on the line, like no shooters, whatever it is.
No twos. Yeah. You're not giving up any twos. Yeah.
No twos. And everyone's getting into it defensively because they know the game is on the line. And so when I watch, like, it might be washed up guys like from Ohio State alums versus Kentucky alums, but the place is on fire. The gym, everyone's standing with every play. They're going nuts. Everyone's on pins and needles watching the last, 5 possessions going back and forth because every game ends on a game winner. And watching OKC San Antonio, why does 47 minutes of the game have to be awesome? And then when most people are watching, casual fans are watching, I got to turn on the game. There's like 5 minutes left. It's a 2-point game. It's the worst part about the game. It's the worst part about basketball is a free throw contest. So I'm curious, where are you at on Elam ending, or is that too much of a gimmick in your mind?
I would say at first blush, it would be too much, too radical. If I'm saying let's flesh it out, then my sort of line of demarcation might be not 12 minutes. I don't want the final fourth quarter to be that because it takes away some of the general beauty of the game. If you're telling me in the last 3 minutes, scoring 10 points from that point or whatever it is,
okay, 10 points to the team in the league. Yep.
As opposed to 12 minutes because you're taking away from the structural integrity of the game. Here's my thought, because it's only the last minute or 30 seconds that really gets under my skin. If you take a foul intentionally, 1 shot plus the ball, because then it goes to guard your man.
Mm-hmm.
But then, I brought this up to someone from the league office yesterday, and he said, you know what, players will find a way to make it not look so obvious, and then it puts it in the hands of the referees and everything else. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I agree with you, but this can't be it.
Yeah, this is suboptimal for sure.
That was an excellent game for 47 minutes and 30 seconds. And I don't think a team has to play perfect for 47 minutes and 30 seconds to say that they don't deserve a reasonable chance to send this game into overtime, not just for the teams, but for the fans. And if you can defend your man, defend your man.
Mm-hmm.
Play ball. Don't play foul. Play ball.
Fouls are meant to be penalized, not incentivized, right? So as soon as you're fouling on purpose to gain an advantage, then we need to realign our incentives. And
I have a saying that I tell all the league people, and they don't like it when I say it. I send it in the text though, and I say it like poke them. I say, tell Adam to fix your league. Like that hashtag, fix your league.
Yeah.
He's trying. He's changing everything all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, were you guys a fan of the play? Were y'all a fan of the play? And I was not. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, this is great. Yeah. You know what I mean?
The play for sure was better, well received after the first year. And I think it's a mainstay. I think it's great. I do think that the NBA Cup is a harder sell because it's I think the troubling thing is there's like it's clunky. It's clunky is the best way to put it. It doesn't count towards your record. The stats don't count in the championship, right? And then it's interspliced within the regular season. And so even when I do Blazers games, you kind of have to remind yourself, okay, what are the rules again? Like, all right, so it's point differential and a tiebreaker, but it's round robin. So the Blazers were up until the last minute. They were going to come out of Group C, interestingly enough. And I had to remind myself as the expert, what's at stake here? And if I'm the expert and I'm having to remind myself what are the stakes of this game and the things that the Blazers need to do in order to be coming out of this group, I can only imagine how the fans are like, I don't get it. Like, what is it again? So that's where I come in and I'm like, I think the idea is real. I really like the idea of having an in-season tournament, 32 teams expansion, 32 teams in a tournament is, I think, the goal. But they got to kind of figure out how to integrate it into the season, and it's awkward. It's clunky. How
about this? And it doesn't change the clunkiness of it, but it adds the incentive. How about you make, starting from the semifinals, have that be the number one tiebreaker in terms of playoffs? If you, through the regular season, if you have made it to the semifinals, that is your tiebreaker over the next team, or if you got the same record or whatever it is. And if you win that final game, even though it doesn't count towards 82, let's say the Spurs and the Lakers, which could happen, or the Spurs and the Rockets, they are all tied at 55 wins. Well, the Spurs got to the Cup championship. They didn't win it, but they got there. That gives them the tiebreaker.
Which means that it essentially works
in
as
the
a
first round. What if you make the playoffs and get home court?
I thought about that too, but 9 times out of 10, I think the Bucks have home court in the first round last year against Indiana?
The Lakers did it, though.
6.
Well, in the same way that how often does the tiebreaker come up for you to care about it? The Bucks were a 5 seed last year.
Okay, that's what it is for. Okay. But had they won it, think about it. If that's the tiebreaker, it flips.
Mm-hmm. What if you get to choose your opponent?
Ooh. I am
Do teams want that? Do teams want that? Like, I would wonder, would teams want to choose their opponent, or do you think that creates more of a?
Then you choose your opponent and they beat you. And that looks great.
I mean,
here's fun.
We love drama, right? Like the storyline is, the Knicks got their first round, and this is who they're choosing for their opponent. I like that because it still keeps the
Yeah, right. Would you want to have that power to choose your opponent, or do you feel like, that's adding? No, they're gonna have a chip on their shoulder. Like,
it's funny. I'm a traditionalist who've had like 2 radical ideas, or at least one big radical idea. The radical idea I had before, which I think is like 2017 or 18, was to prevent tanking, set the lottery odds at mid-season.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So then you got to play the rest of the season out no matter what it is. And then the ping pong ball, you have no say from that point on. Now, maybe you wind up tanking the last 10 games going into, from 30 to 40 or whatever it is. But you have to play the last 40 games with real integrity, regardless of what happens. So I'm not a total just traditionalist and staunch, because people are always going to try to take advantage of it.
Sure.
So I think to that one, I didn't like the idea at first. But if it's tied to incentive, if you're going to incentivize the cup, then have it be that. Have it be that. Pick your opponent, and live with the consequences.
Yeah, it would juice it up.
Pick the Hawks for first round. Pick Trae Young, and deal with it. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Or pick the Celtics. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is. You don't think Jason Tatum is playing, so you think it's going to be a easier win. Whatever it is. Because then I guarantee you, think about the story, like no matter if you're a 1-8 or if it's a 4-5 or whatever it is, like that's the series that the NBA maybe that's the Amazon series. If Amazon is sponsoring whatever, you know what I mean? Like maybe that's the series that draws everybody in because you've said you can't beat me. Mm-hmm. Or at least at the very least, I want you.
I think the NBA should introduce the pick your own opponent like right away. With you get the number 1 seed, you get to pick your opponent. Number 2 seed, you get to pick your opponent. Number 3 seed, you get to pick your opponent. And then the 4, 5 go head to head. Now Adam Silver he covered a bunch of different topics in the press conference. Anything in that you because he talked about expansion and the idea of like we gotta wrap this up 2026. There was other stuff, whether he's going to jump into WNBA talks, CBA talks. Interestingly enough, there was not I don't think there was aspiration addressed in this one. Terry Rozier was addressed. Anything else that you feel like you walked away being like, I'm glad we had that discussed and Adam had a particular interesting answer to that?
Well, the crazy thing is because me and Amin were sitting next to each other, so we're like the 2 bad kids trading notes back and forth to each other while Adam is talking because we don't want to be caught, that type of thing.
You guys are writing little notes to each other?
On a notes app, absolutely. Definitely the 2 badass kids next to each other, and we're the 2 black dudes sitting next to each other too. So it's like we're sticking out. And the thing about Adam is that Adam has X amount of minutes. And he's going to lawyer it up. He is going to filibuster. So it only looks like we have like 5 questions. And maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was 6 questions. I think Monica might have asked the last one about the WNBA stuff.
Yep.
So I think for me, the expansion thing, which I thought was kind of a non-issue at this point, because Adam had just been saying the same thing for the past 4 or 5 BOG meetings about, it's something we're looking at. We got a committee, we got some indicators that indicate, and just never went into it. And this time, it kind of felt like he wanted us to know. He wanted us to know that there is a shot clock on this. Ain't gonna be no Elam ending on this expansion talk. Like, there is a shot clock on this, and we're going to have this either once or for all. Maybe that's him putting pressure on the fellow owners to say, hey, guys, let's get this in. Okay, let me back that up. Adam Silver works for the owners. Mm-hmm. He is not putting pressure on them. Now, David Stern, those guys worked for David. That's a little dip. David was the emperor. Adam is a little bit more of a manager of people. But I think it was a message he wanted to get sent out. And part A, so we can stop asking the questions, and B, so these franchises, these cities will stop feeling like they're getting teased and kicked down the road, only to get maybe kicked in the nuts later. You know what I mean? So I think,
or a thumb up the butt. Yeah, from
Josh Hart. I didn't say that at all. And
I mean, you said kick in the nuts. I mean,
yeah, I feel like that's more. You can see that in a cartoon. You can see someone get kicked in the groin and it be okay. You don't really see someone getting a big old.
I saw
thumb.
it last night on Amazon at the celebration.
Not FCC airwaves.
But Jalen was like, yeah. And he cussed on the air, which was great.
Oh, did he see? I didn't see. I was waiting in the post game, but yeah, I think the expansion thing for me, and I wonder, you might have space for one franchise. I wonder, do you have the space for two? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, because I wonder, and I won't say anybody's prime for relocation, but I do think you need some conference realignment. I think I wonder if the Minnesota Timberwolves should be in the Eastern Conference. Memphis. As opposed to, I suppose. So.
Yeah, I mean, if they add Seattle and Las Vegas, I
don't know if you need to add two. But the problem is you want to keep it.
You can't have an odd-numbered league, though.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Sure you can.
The league used to have 23 teams.
Okay.
Is
we're
baseball or football?
We're snapping the pool cue and we're dropping it between Vegas and Seattle. You guys figure it out who wins?
Oh, no, I was going to Seattle. In my opinion, I think Seattle is a more viable basketball market than Vegas. I think when you look at Vegas as a football market, that's one of those places where the Vegas Raiders play 8 away games, and then 8 away games that are at home.
Yeah.
And if they're doing that for 8, I don't know how much you can viably deduce that you're going to play 41 or 40 or whatever it is. That's a big time investment. And
I feel like if they were there early, then I think they would have more ability to carve out their territory there. But it kind of feels like, oddly enough, the NBA is late to Vegas.
Well, think about it. The NBA was early to Charlotte and then was late to Charlotte, right? They were the first pro sports to get to Charlotte. And then when the George Shinn stuff happened and the attendance dropped and then they left, then all of a sudden the Carolina Panthers got there and NASCAR got there and the Hurricanes got there. And then by the time they came back, they were no longer the NBA league leader in attendance like they were for the first 6 or 7 or 8 years of their existence, because people had many more options.
Mm-hmm. FC, like all my buddies, they all want to go to FC rather than Hornets games right now, because that is a really fun atmosphere here, and they're pretty good, which is a good way to get people to go watch these games and pay good money to season tickets, is if you're really good, and the Hornets haven't been really good in a long time.
Shocker.
Yeah. What about the Terry Rozier thing? I thought he wasn't as prepared to answer that one as I thought he might be. Is like, what do we do with Terry Rozier and Tim Reynolds? That was the first question.
That's the first question. Yeah.
I don't see why they would prohibit the Heat from trading him. It's just a matter of the Heat having the ability to find a suitor for his contract. But I just feel like I don't think the NBA can step in that case. I mean, Kevin Porter Jr. is what, like 2 years ago, last year?
Yeah, I think it's less about trading him and more about the pick that's supposed to convey that Adam is having a hard time with. And I think to some degree, he's saying a deal's a deal. Like, I'm not going to walk in. And I'm thinking, I haven't spoken with him about this specifically, even for like background. I think he's hesitant to dip his toe in that. Someone amongst the media yesterday says Adam spoke about that as if something else is coming down. And I'm like, I didn't hear that, but I have to go back and watch and listen. But this is somebody that's pretty astute. And he kind of whispered it to me. He was like, do you think Adam is leaving the door open for something else to have happened in that spot that's going to make this decision easy for him? And I have no idea if that actually means anything, but it just made my ears perk up a little bit, because what happens for the next thing? And if it feels like Adam doesn't want to operate as commissioner in this case, he wants this thing to kind of adjudicate itself. I came with the suggestion, guys, that Adam should use his powers as NBA commissioner to call the Clippers Thunder trade fully adjudicated. No more picks going either way. This thing is done. That horse is beat dead. The Clippers are dead. The Thunder are living. How about you just say no more swaps, no more picks? That trade is, we're done with it.
Yeah. I see the slippery slope idea is like, if you're,
I'm being firmly tongue in cheek, but I'm also like, if Adam did it, that would, that would make the NBA a lot more level. You know what I'm saying?
I thought it was interesting when he said, I've talked to Chris, but I haven't talked to Steve. Chris Paul.
I haven't talked to Steve about this.
About this, right. And it just goes to
what
show.
What is he supposed to say?
They got enough other things to talk about.
Chris Paul this way?
I know. But it reminds me of the MIT Sloan thing where he's like, I talk to superstars who are depressed, and they're I get on the phone late at night with some stars, and they're saying how miserable they are and how unhappy they are with all this money. And I'm just trying to imagine, it's just not whether it's good or bad, but David Stern saying that, I could never imagine David being like, yeah, I talked to Michael over the phone, and he's just really upset and depressed with all this.
David wasn't trying to be your friend. David wanted you to know that he was an MF in charge. And I miss that about him. I miss David sort of poking his nose at the media and sort of getting on us if we ask a silly question and everything else. I like the mental exercise of dealing with the emperor. And I think to some degree, like, you got to have a leader. If you're going to be the leader, if you're going to be the guy, then you almost have to be above everybody and behave that way. Like, yeah, you can have an open line and everything else. You don't want to be a closed door, but you can't be, because if you're everybody's friend, then you're listening to things that maybe you shouldn't, or you think because you're listening to three superstars that it's indicative of an entire NBA, when it could just be those three dudes is just depressed because they spending too much damn time on social media.
Yeah. Maybe that's it, is like, what does it say about the players that they're reaching out to the commissioner for their advice on?
Because he tells them that they can.
It's an open line, open door policy,
Yeah, well, I think that answers the Clippers question. Is Chris Paul called Adam, but Steve didn't call Adam about Chris.
If I had to guess, if I had to surmise, yeah, that's probably the chain of command. Yeah. What is Steve Ballmer going to say? He wasn't flying in the middle of the night to go tell Chris Paul he was cut. That was somebody else's decision by and large. Yeah. And if you're Chris Paul, why would I wouldn't want to call Adam, man, can you believe what they just did to me? You 41. It's time to go home.
Well, that's what Lawrence told him.
Why does everybody have to play forever? Like, can we ask that question? Why does everybody have to play forever?
I think it's just, he started 82 games last year. So I think in his mind, and I think he's right in a sense, is I still got something left. And if it weren't for Ty Lue, benching me, or if Jeff Van Gundy arguments, whatever it is, I could still give a team something. And it's just like, there's only 30 teams out there, and there's only 2 that are in LA, and one of them already sent you packing. So it's going to come down to that other team if you really want to stay close to home, which we'll see. Cause I think December 19th is Friday, is when cap wise, the Lakers could fit in Chris Paul's contract, or adding a player under the cap or under the apron. Can
you imagine Chris Paul telling JJ Redick about switching up coverages? That would be must-see TV, baby. I want it.
I love it. And yeah, he's got a relationship with JJ and DeAndre Ayton and LeBron. And it's like, but that was the thing about the Clippers, was they all knew the Chris Paul experience, So it was like, how did you guys not see this coming? But
it's like Siegfried and Roy, right? When you stuck your head in the tiger's mouth, that tiger didn't go crazy. That tiger went tiger.
Mm-hmm.
That CP went CP.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see. It is interesting watching Blake Griffin on these national broadcasts and just, and Ramona had her piece this week. And so I feel like, I feel this way. And I said it to Amin earlier, was just like, Chris Paul has every reason to feel right when they're 6-19, he has every reason to feel like I was right about y'all not doing this right. You should be switching up the defensive coverages. And if you want to send me home and then you go on a 4-game losing streak, it ain't me. But that's what Lawrence Frank said. He's not a scapegoat on the season and he's not at fault. But
here's the other thing. Reading the room is vastly underrated, I think, in today's antisocial society where we spend a lot of time talking at each other and not to each other. You know what I mean? Like, we spend a lot of time in the comment section and not necessarily a lot of time in what I like to call direct address. You got to be able to read the room. And this is not advocating for Lawrence Frank or Ty Lue or whatever it is. Just the question you often have to ask yourself, and I've done this time at various workplaces. It is, am I right? And do I need to be the one to say it? And both of those answers have to be yes. Because sometimes you can be right, but it don't need for me to say it.
I don't think Chris Paul feels that way too often.
The second part of your question, right? The answer is usually yes. Yeah, he feels that way. Which, man, it's hard to argue with the resume, but everybody goes through this in the NBA. And I think everybody, forget NBA players, everybody's worked at a workplace or been with your family and realized, yep, it's not for me to say. I'm going to be out of pocket if I say something about this. And mom's not going to be happy if I make that comment. And you stand down, you're like, yep, I might be right, but it ain't worth it, right?
Yep. But is it worth it to me? What's going to happen on the back end of this when I'm no longer Chris Paul, top 5, top 6 point guard of all time? When I'm Chris Paul, the guy that they said in this press release was coming to play a limited role. They said that. They wanted to get ahead of this from the beginning. And some guy at 41 years old, you're not going to change.
Vinny, would you hire Chris Paul to coach your team?
Which means I'm Chris Paul's boss?
Yeah, you're the GM or you're the owner. Man. Are you hiring Chris Paul?
If I don't got to talk to him every day, maybe.
Well, you don't have to talk to him. I got to listen to
everybody's complaint because, hey, this person's shirt wasn't tucked in and all that. Like,
okay, so you could hire a buffer. You could hire someone to manage Chris Paul. So you're the owner. You have a GM. Are you hiring Chris Paul as the coach?
Here's the bigger question, Anthony Mays. Is some team going to hire Chris Paul to run their basketball operations? Because in theory, Chris Paul fits the mold of somebody who knows the game well enough to be able to get the scouting right. He's got the Chris Paul AAU stuff, the camp, like he knows everything on a grassroots level. He's really, 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 really smart. The problem is, does being smart sort of erase all the other things that comes with you? And if you have ultimate power and ultimate say and no checks and balances, woo, baby, I can't imagine those daily meetings.
Yeah, well, I think he deserves a shot. I think anybody with that kind of experience, acumen, especially in the leadership roles, with being the head of the PA and president of your high school class and all this stuff, he clearly wants to be a leader. And that he's reading that CBA for any loophole that he can win over on the other GMs. He's going to know that inside and out. But there's a lot more to the job, right? It's relationships, being able to get on the phone and not try. We deal with this in fantasy football all the time at this stage of the year where it's like, you don't have to campaign for the trade being smart for me. Like enough, Enough.
No, but someone sends you the trade and says, "Oh yeah, man, this is very fair." You ain't got to tell me it's fair. If you're telling me it's fair, I know you're trying to get over on me.
Right. Oh yeah. Like when the guy's like, I don't even know if I would do this, but I'll just throw it out there. I'm like, bullshit. You're not sending me that if you're not going to do it. So
exactly.
Vinnie Goodwill at ESPN. Go check out his work at ESPN.com. It's been a pleasure. I'm glad you made it back safely and soundly. You did very well for a 45-minute hit within hours of landing from Vegas.
After
I'm just telling you.
6 days in Vegas. Get some rest, Vinny.
I'm running on adrenaline, and if you know who I work for, it probably means I'm not getting any rest. So I'm glad to get on with you guys.
Well, congratulations, man, and it's good to see you, and thanks for stopping by, and we'll talk soon.
I appreciate y'all, man.